Welcome to the pink side. She told her family I'm her girlfriend. Now I have to act like one. The apartment smelled faintly of vanilla and fresh laundry, a comforting scent that usually helped me relax after a long day. But today, the familiar aroma felt like a cruel joke. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the outfit laid out in front of me, a delicate, blush pink dress with subtle lace trim, paired with matching heels that gleamed under the soft light. Normally, choosing an outfit for a night out was a simple pleasure, but tonight, it was a source of anxiety. My name is Ryan, and for as long as I can remember, I've led a life of carefully compartmentalized identities. By day, I'm the typical college student, studious, low profile, almost invisible. By night, in the quiet privacy of my room, I explore another side of myself. Crossdressing has always been a private indulgence, a way to express something I rarely let anyone see. It's a thrill, a secret rebellion, and a form of self-expression all rolled into one. But nothing in my careful, controlled life had prepared me for the challenge Emma just threw at me.
Emma.
The girl who had quietly captivated me for months with her confident charm and mischievous smile. She knew me in ways no one else did, or at least she thought she did. Until today, I thought I had control over our dynamic. But in a single moment, she had dismantled all my boundaries. "You're perfect for this," she said earlier over the phone, her voice teasing and firm at the same time. "My family wants to meet my girlfriend, and, well, you're it." I nearly choked on my own breath. "Girlfriend?" I stammered. "Yes," she replied, as if it were the most natural thing in the world.
I told them about you.
"About us? Tonight, you're my girlfriend. Don't make me regret trusting you." The words echoed in my mind. She had told her family. My personal secret was now entangled with hers, thrust into the light. I had to perform, to play a role I had never anticipated. My private indulgence, the crossdressing I had always kept hidden, was suddenly the foundation of a public persona. Panic and excitement intertwined in my chest, leaving me both thrilled and terrified. I glanced down at the dress again. Its soft fabric seemed to shimmer with unspoken promises. Wearing it meant stepping fully into Emma's world, into a reality where my secret would be on display, scrutinized by people who knew nothing of me beyond what Emma had told them. My heart raced at the thought of the scrutiny. Could I pull it off? Could I convince her family, and maybe even myself, that I was someone I had never pretended to be before? As I sat there, my mind flickered to the relationship we shared. Emma had a way of pushing boundaries, testing limits with a smile that made it impossible to say no. I was drawn to her confidence, her boldness, and, admittedly, her beauty. But her actions tonight had taken things to a whole new level. The trust she placed in me, and the expectations she had set, felt both exhilarating and terrifying. I took a deep breath and reminded myself that I had always been good at playing roles, even if only in private. Tonight, though, there was an audience beyond my control. Emma's family. People who would judge, question, and analyze every move I made. I felt the weight of their unseen eyes as a physical pressure on my chest. Yet, as much as fear gripped me, there was another feeling, a spark of thrill. The idea of stepping completely into another persona, of embodying someone else for a night, was intoxicating. It wasn't just crossdressing anymore. It was acting, performing, becoming part of someone else's story. Emma had thrown down the gauntlet, and, despite my fear, I couldn't deny the part of me that wanted to accept it. I closed my eyes for a moment, envisioning the evening ahead, meeting her family, introducing myself as her girlfriend, navigating conversations where every word, every gesture would matter. I pictured their faces, a mixture of curiosity and expectation. Could I maintain composure? Could I be convincing enough to avoid suspicion, to blend seamlessly into this new reality? My phone buzzed on the nightstand, breaking the spiral of thoughts. A message from Emma. "Dinner's in an hour. Be ready. And remember, confidence is key." Confidence. A word that felt heavier than ever. I had always been confident in my private life, when I controlled the narrative. But tonight, that confidence would have to extend beyond the safety of my room, my clothes, and my routines. I would have to wear it like the dress itself. Perfectly tailored, unshakable, undeniable. I stood and began the careful process of preparing myself. I started with the basics: skin care, hair styled neatly yet softly, subtle touches that enhanced femininity without appearing forced. Then came the dress, sliding into it, feeling the soft fabric against my skin, noticing how it transformed not just my appearance but the way I held myself. The heels were next, a reminder that every step forward would require balance, poise, and confidence. Looking into the mirror, I barely recognized the reflection staring back at me. There was me, but also someone else. Someone delicate, poised, undeniably feminine, and, in a strange way, entirely captivating. I felt both exhilarated and vulnerable, a paradox that made my pulse quicken. I practiced a smile, practiced casual movements, imagined conversations, imagined laughter. Emma's instructions echoed in my mind. Confidence is key. And yet, beneath the surface, doubt lingered. Could I maintain this facade for the entire evening? Would her family accept me? Would Emma? Or would my secret crumble under the weight of scrutiny, leaving embarrassment and regret in its wake? Then came a soft knock on the door. Emma's voice followed shortly after. Time to go. Don't worry, you'll be amazing. I took one last look in the mirror, smoothing the dress, adjusting my hair, steadying my hands. I nodded to myself, a silent promise to step into the role fully, to embrace the challenge, to navigate this night with courage. And with a deep, steadying breath, I opened the door. The hallway outside was lit warmly, the sound of Emma's family waiting faintly echoing from beyond the front door. My heart raced, but there was no turning back. Tonight, I wasn't just Ryan. Tonight, I was Emma's girlfriend, performing a role that could change everything. The door clicked shut behind me, and the night began. The cab ride to Emma's house felt surreal. The streets blurred past in streaks of light, the city's noise a distant hum behind the walls of the car. Every so often, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the tinted window, the soft curve of my cheeks, the subtle shimmer of makeup, the elegant line of the dress hugging my frame. It was me, and yet it wasn't. Every feature, every detail, had been chosen to fit a role I had never played in public before. My hands fidgeted in my lap, fingers brushing over the smooth fabric of the dress. I tried to focus on breathing, but my mind refused to settle. Images of Emma's family flashed through my head, smiling, scrutinizing, expecting. I imagined their judgment, their whispered conversations, the tiny hints that would reveal whether I was convincing or not. My stomach churned with a mix of anxiety and excitement. Emma noticed immediately. Relax, she whispered, her hand brushing mine lightly. You look amazing. Just be yourself, only, the version I told them about. I forced a smile, though my heart pounded like a drum. I'll try, I murmured, the words feeling heavy. The moment we stepped out of the cab, the reality hit harder. Emma's house was imposing yet inviting, a stately home with polished wooden doors and warm lighting spilling onto the manicured lawn. As we walked up the path, my heels clicked against the pavement, each sound magnifying my awareness of every step, every movement. Inside, the air smelled faintly of flowers and home-cooked meals. Her parents greeted us with smiles that seemed genuine, yet my nerves twisted each glance into a potential trap. I extended a hand, offering a practiced smile. Ryan, it's so nice to finally meet you. Her mother's voice was warm, but my stomach tightened. Could I keep up this facade? Could I respond naturally while my heart raced with the knowledge of every slip that could betray me? Yes, thank you for having me, I said, trying to steady my tone. Each word felt foreign in my mouth, a careful performance of confidence that was anything but. Her father studied me silently for a moment, his eyes sharp. Emma's told us a lot, he said finally. You two seem very happy. I nodded, swallowing hard. Yes, very happy, I replied, forcing a casualness I didn't feel. Every flicker of doubt threatened to betray me, every heartbeat seemed louder in my chest. The dinner began, a a carefully orchestrated dance of conversation and subtle scrutiny. I laughed when appropriate, nodded at points that required agreement, and tried to maintain the gentle poise Emma had instructed me to adopt. But beneath the surface, a storm raged. My internal dialogue oscillated between fear and exhilaration, questioning whether I could sustain this performance. Halfway through the meal, Emma leaned slightly closer, whispering, "See? You're doing great. Just relax a little more." I nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. The dress felt tighter with every movement, the heels higher, more precarious. I had to be conscious of every gesture, every shift of weight. Even a slight stumble could shatter the illusion. Then came the subtle tests, her younger siblings, curious and teasing, asking questions designed to probe. "So, do you two hold hands a lot?" one of them asked innocently. My pulse quickened. I forced a laugh, meeting Emma's eyes for reassurance. "We do sometimes," I said, keeping my tone light, practiced. Emma squeezed my hand under the table, a silent promise of support. I returned the gesture, grateful for the anchor she provided. Yet each passing moment increased the tension. Every glance from her parents, every question from her siblings, felt like a potential exposure. After dinner, Emma suggested a small tour of the house, her parents following with polite interest. I walked behind her, heels clicking softly, shoulders straight. The sensation of the dress brushing against my skin, the slight sway of my hips, was both thrilling and terrifying. I was hyper-aware of my every movement, conscious of the balance between natural femininity and the risk of looking exaggerated. As we reached the living room, Emma's mother paused. "Emma, why don't you show Ryan the family photos?" I nodded, stepping closer to the display. My fingers traced the frames lightly, careful not to draw attention to trembling hands. The photos chronicled Emma's life, childhood moments, family vacations, candid snapshots. I recognized the subtle pressure in her mother's gaze, assessing how I fit into this family tapestry. Could I maintain composure? Could I embody the role convincingly enough to be accepted? Emma leaned slightly toward me, whispering, "You're doing perfectly. Just remember, small gestures matter." I focused on my breathing, consciously modulating my posture, my smile, the tilt of my head. The act of inhabiting this role was almost meditative, requiring every ounce of awareness and control I could muster. Yet, with each step deeper into Emma's world, the line between performance and reality blurred. Later, in the living room, as her parents discussed weekend plans, I found myself relaxing just slightly, allowing a more natural version of myself to emerge. But the undercurrent of tension never fully dissipated. Every laugh, every nod, every gentle touch from Emma was a reminder of the stakes. One misstep could undo everything. At one point, Emma's younger sister approached, curious and candid. "You really like dresses?" she asked, tilting her head. My heart skipped. "Yes, I do," I admitted softly, unsure if the honesty would be seen as charm or oddity. The child smiled, accepting my answer without judgment, and I felt a fleeting relief. Emma's parents observed quietly, their expressions unreadable. I wondered if they noticed the subtleties, the careful balance, the rehearsed gestures, the tension beneath the smile. Could I convince them, not just of my role, but of my authenticity? As the evening continued, the challenges mounted. Emma's friends arrived unexpectedly, and suddenly I was navigating multiple layers of scrutiny. Conversations flowed around me, teasing remarks, light-hearted jokes, all requiring my careful, poised responses. My mind raced with strategies, subtle adjustments, rehearsed phrases, and body language cues. At one point, Emma whispered, "Almost done. Just a few more hours, and then it's over." I forced a nod, though the idea of enduring several more hours in this heightened state of awareness was daunting. Yet beneath the exhaustion, a strange thrill pulsed. I had never felt so vividly alive, so acutely aware of every gesture, every expression. The performance, the crossdressing, the deception, it all melded into a singular, electrifying experience. By the end of the night, as we sat in the quiet aftermath of social interactions, I allowed myself a small, private sigh of relief. I had survived, navigated the complexities, and maintained the illusion. But I knew this was only the beginning. The deeper I immersed myself in Emma's world, the greater the stakes would become. The dress, the heels, the carefully cultivated persona, they had become a shield and a snare. I was no longer just Ryan, nor entirely the role I was playing. I was something in between, suspended in a delicate balance of fear, excitement, and undeniable transformation. Emma's hand brushed mine as we sat quietly, her smile soft and knowing. "You were amazing tonight," she said. "But the real challenge is what comes next." Her words sent a shiver down my spine. What comes next? I had no idea, and yet, the thrill of the unknown beckoned irresistibly. The suspense was just beginning. The next morning, I woke with a strange mixture of relief and dread. Last night had been a gauntlet of smiles, polite conversation, and silent anxiety. I had made it through without a single slip, but the real challenge had only begun. Emma had told me today would be even more intense, a family brunch with her extended relatives, and, as she casually mentioned, a few of her friends dropping by unexpectedly. My reflection in the mirror was almost unrecognizable. The makeup from last night had faded slightly, but my carefully styled hair remained perfect. The dress I had chosen was more casual, a soft pastel that hugged my frame just enough to appear natural. I tugged at it nervously, adjusting the hem, straightening the sleeves. Every gesture was a reminder. This was no longer just about looking the part, it was about embodying it fully. Emma came into the room, radiant and smiling. "Morning, beautiful," she said, brushing a loose strand of hair behind my ear. My stomach flipped at the compliment. I forced a modest smile. "Morning. You did amazing last night. But today there's no room for mistakes. Everyone's going to be watching, analyzing. I want you to be yourself, yes, but the version of yourself they expect." I nodded, swallowing hard. The weight of her words pressed down on me. I wanted to be brave, to be confident, but deep down, I was terrified. I had never navigated social settings like this before, and the thought of Emma's extended family scrutinizing every expression, every movement, sent shivers down my spine. By the time we arrived at her family home, the scene was already bustling. Her cousins, aunts, and uncles moved about with casual chatter and laughter. I took a deep breath, letting my heels click against the polished floor as we entered. Emma squeezed my hand briefly, a silent reassurance. "Everyone, this is Ryan," she announced with her signature warmth. "He's my girlfriend." A hush fell over the room. I froze for a moment, my mind racing. Their eyes were on me, scanning, evaluating. I forced a smile, bowing my head slightly in greeting. "Welcome," her aunt exclaimed, breaking the tension with enthusiasm. "Emma's told us so much." I nodded, offering a gentle smile. The first few minutes were manageable, small talk, polite exchanges, gentle compliments. But the tension simmered beneath the surface. Every glance, every question, felt like a test. Then came the first obstacle. Her cousin, a sharp-eyed teenager, leaned toward me with a teasing grin. "So, do you really like dresses, or is this just for Emma?" My pulse quickened. The question was innocent enough, but the subtext was clear. I could feel sweat forming on my palms. "I really like them," I replied cautiously, keeping my tone light and steady. The cousin nodded, seemingly satisfied, but I knew the scrutiny had only intensified. Emma's family had a way of noticing the smallest details, the tilt of a head, the curve of a smile, the slight stiffness in posture. I moved carefully, consciously adopting gestures I had practiced, trying to appear relaxed while maintaining the poise of someone confident in their femininity. Every movement felt amplified, every sound from my heels a reminder of the performance I had to sustain. Midway through the brunch, the real challenge arrived. Emma's friends, unannounced, entered the room. My heart sank. I had no idea what to expect from them. Would they tease me? Judge me? Recognize the subtle imperfections in my act? "Ryan, you made it," one of them exclaimed, smiling warmly but with a glint of curiosity in her eyes. She circled me slowly, observing. I forced a polite smile, feeling my cheeks flush. Emma's hand found mine, a grounding anchor amidst the storm of attention. The conversation flowed, but I could feel the tension building. Every laugh, every nod, every small gesture was a negotiation between my own identity, the persona I had created, and the expectations of those around me. I was hyper-aware of my posture, my speech, the way my fingers brushed against my dress. Then came the critical moment. A small mishap. A chair tipped slightly under my weight, the edge of my dress slipping more than intended. I froze, panic surging through me. All eyes were on me for a fleeting moment. I straightened quickly, forcing a laugh, hoping it appeared natural. Emma's hand on my back steadied me. "You're fine," she whispered softly, though I could feel the tension in her grip. I nodded, trying to regain composure. But the incident had set off a chain reaction in my mind. The realization hit me hard. One small mistake could unravel everything. One misstep could reveal the truth, shatter the illusion I had built so carefully. The day continued with escalating challenges. A game of charades, a photo session, and casual group activities, all requiring me to maintain the role perfectly. Every interaction demanded my full attention. Every movement was a test of balance, grace, and poise. The dress, the heels, the makeup, they were no longer accessories but tools of survival, essential to maintaining the fragile facade. As the afternoon sun dipped lower, I began to feel the strain. My legs ached from the heels, my back stiff from holding perfect posture, my mind fatigued from constant vigilance. Yet the thrill of the performance pulsed stronger than ever. There was a strange exhilaration in walking this tightrope, in being so acutely aware of every detail, every reaction. Then came the twist, a video call from Emma's distant relatives, joining the brunch virtually. Their eyes were on me immediately, assessing, questioning, evaluating. I had to engage, to converse naturally, to appear authentic while suppressing every flicker of doubt and insecurity. The conversation was a minefield. Questions about hobbies, preferences, and personal anecdotes required careful navigation. Each answer had to be plausible, consistent with the persona I had crafted, while avoiding any hint of my secret. The slightest hesitation, the tiniest slip, could betray me. By late afternoon, I was exhausted yet acutely aware of the stakes. The performance had become almost second nature, but every smile, every gesture, carried the weight of scrutiny. Emma remained my anchor, her whispered reassurances and gentle touches keeping me tethered to the moment. As the day drew to a close, Emma led me to a quieter room, away from the lingering eyes of family and friends. She turned to me, her gaze intense but supportive. "You did it," she said softly. "You survived the day." I exhaled, a mixture of relief and lingering anxiety. "For now," I muttered, knowing that each step further into this role would bring new challenges, new tests of composure and courage. But the real climax had yet to arrive. As we prepared to leave, Emma's younger brother, mischievous and sharp, lingered by the doorway. "Hey," he said innocently, "are you really her girlfriend? Or is this just a game?" My heart froze. All the rehearsed gestures, all the practiced smiles, all the careful words, they teetered on the brink of exposure. I forced a small laugh, hoping it appeared casual. "I'm really her girlfriend," I said firmly, though the tremor in my voice betrayed me. Emma's hand found mine instantly, a protective anchor. "Yes, he is," she said, eyes locking onto mine with unspoken reassurance. But the moment had left its mark. The tension was palpable, the stakes higher than ever. Every fiber of my being was alert, every instinct screaming to maintain the facade, to protect the secret I had worked so hard to preserve. As we stepped out into the fading light, I realized the truth. The performance was no longer optional. It was a necessity. Every encounter, every glance, every word was a test, and the world was watching. Emma squeezed my hand gently, her smile both comforting and challenging. "Ready for the next round?" she asked, and I knew, with a mix of fear and exhilaration, that I was. The day had been a crucible, testing every aspect of my transformation, every ounce of courage, every subtle gesture. I had survived, but the climax had shown me the razor-thin line I walked, the constant balance between fear and thrill, reality and performance. And I knew, deep down, that the true challenges were only just beginning. Even after the brunch had ended, and Emma's family had gradually dispersed, the tension lingered in the air. I felt drained, my body aching from the heels, my mind still on high alert from the endless scrutiny. Emma held my hand as we walked toward her car, the fading afternoon light casting long shadows across the driveway. "You did amazingly today," she said softly, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "I'm proud of you." I forced a smile, but inside, a storm of emotions raged. Pride, yes, but also fear. Every smile, every laugh, every carefully chosen word during the day had been a delicate balancing act. And now, outside the family home, it felt as though the world itself was watching, waiting for me to falter. As we drove, Emma chatted casually about plans for the evening, but I barely heard her. My mind kept replaying the moments from brunch, the cousins teasing, her friends' scrutinizing gaze, her brother's pointed question. Each encounter had been a small victory, but the fear of exposure had grown, gnawing at the edges of my relief. By the time we reached our apartment, the sun had dipped below the horizon, leaving a faint orange glow over the city. Emma turned to me with a mischievous smile. "So, dinner at my place tonight. Just us, more relaxed. I thought it'd be nice." I nodded, trying to mirror her enthusiasm. Inside, however, anxiety clutched my chest. Dinner with Emma alone was supposed to be safe, but after today, nothing felt safe anymore. The line between my persona and my real self had blurred. The day had revealed just how deeply I could immerse myself in this role, and how precarious it all was. We stepped inside, and I immediately felt the pull of habit. I checked my reflection in the hallway mirror. My hair slightly mussed, makeup still intact, dress slightly wrinkled. Every imperfection was magnified in my mind. I adjusted my posture, smoothed the fabric, and forced another confident smile. Emma watched, her eyes a mixture of amusement and admiration. Dinner began normally, with light conversation and laughter, but I could feel the tension beneath my skin. Every clink of a fork, every sip of wine, every glance shared across the table was a test. Would I slip up? Would my voice betray me? Would the carefully constructed persona unravel? Then came the moment that shattered the fragile calm. My phone buzzed on the table. A text. From an unknown number. I glanced at it, my stomach sinking as I read the message. "I know what you did today. I saw everything." My hands trembled. I could feel the blood drain from my face. Emma's head tilted, noticing my sudden stillness. "What is it?" she asked, concern creeping into her tone. I tried to steady my voice. "It's nothing. Probably a wrong number." But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't. The message was specific, knowing. Whoever had sent it had been watching. The day, the performance, the family interactions, they had seen it all. My secret, carefully guarded for so long, was now at risk. Emma reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine. "Hey, look at me. Whatever it is, we'll handle it together." I wanted to believe her, to feel reassured, but fear gnawed at the edges of my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that the world was closing in, that every step I took in this persona was being observed, judged, and recorded. As the evening wore on, I couldn't focus on the conversation or the food. My thoughts raced, imagining who might have sent the text. A neighbor? A stranger? One of Emma's friends? Each possibility felt equally terrifying. My mind spun, connecting every glance and every question from earlier in the day to this ominous message. Emma seemed to notice my distraction. "You're quiet," she said, tilting her head. "Talk to me. Please." I shook my head, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Just tired, I guess." But even as I said it, a part of me wanted to flee, to shed the dress, the heels, the makeup, and hide from the world. Yet another part, an inexplicable, thrilling part, wanted to stay, to confront whatever was coming, to protect the persona I had built, and maybe, just maybe, embrace it fully. The night stretched on, each moment thick with suspense. I kept checking my phone, half expecting another message. Every shadow outside the window, every creak in the floorboards set my heart racing. Emma tried to keep the mood light, teasing me gently, but I could feel the invisible weight pressing down. And then, just as I was beginning to relax, a knock echoed through the apartment. Sharp, deliberate. I froze, every instinct screaming danger. Emma looked at me, puzzled. Who could that be at this hour? I shook my head, dread pooling in my stomach. Slowly, cautiously, I moved toward the door. Each step felt heavy, measured. The knock came again, louder this time, urgent. Emma moved beside me, her hand resting on my lower back. "Open it," she whispered. I swallowed hard, my fingers trembling as I reached for the doorknob. My reflection in the polished metal showed the dress I wore, the makeup, the heels, every detail of the persona that had survived today's trials. And now, all of it was on the verge of exposure. With a deep breath, I turned the knob. The door swung open, and standing there, with a smirk that made my blood run cold, was someone I never expected. "Hello," they said, voice dripping with amusement and menace. "I've been waiting for you." My heart stopped. Emma gasped beside me. I took a step back, trying to shield her, trying to shield myself. The world outside had intruded into our carefully constructed bubble. The line between safety and disaster had shattered. And in that instant, I knew with chilling certainty, nothing would ever be the same. The door remained open. The figure's eyes glinted with knowledge, with intent. The evening's tension, the day's performance, the delicate balance of identity and disguise, all of it hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of revelation. I swallowed, my voice barely a whisper. Who are you?" The figure stepped closer, a slow, deliberate movement that made my knees weak. "Let's just say, I know your little secret, and now we get to play a new game." Emma's hand tightened around mine. I could feel her fear, her strength, and her resolve. But in that moment, I realized one thing. The game had just begun, and I had no idea the rules. The screen fades to black, leaving only the echo of the last words. We get to play a new game. The suspense is unbearable. The secret, the danger, and the thrill all collide, leaving viewers desperate to know what happens next. Who is the mysterious figure? How will they confront me and Emma? Can the secret survive this intrusion?